Don't see more people. So thank you very much for joining me today. And Claire, it's our last meeting of the year. Oh, someone's on volunteer support. I wonder who that is. That's a surprise. So it's just kind of catching up on where we are. Is there any additional support that you guys need? Find out it's Hayley. What's going on with the podcasts that we were tasked to produce for. Find out where we are with them, and if any of the podcast subgroups need any additional support. So I guess we're ready to kick off. Does anyone else have anything else they'd like to talk about today? No? Okay. Okay. So I guess I was hoping to see we've got one person for each podcast, but I think we're still missing two. Anyway, so we've got Stuart, who is leading the menopause podcast, and we've got so I guess Deepa and Stuart, you're both doing. Oh, we haven't got anyone else. So I guess I could update you on the other ones. I guess I'll go first.
I'm part of the group on the parenting one as well.
Have you guys met yet, Joe? Because when we met, you have. Perfect. So that you can do that one. So I guess for the disability one, Abba was working alongside another volunteer, but unfortunately they had to pull away because they had too much work commitment. So Abba said that she had completed most of the brief herself, and she was going to ask for additional support when needed. So I haven't heard back from Abba to where she is with that, but we're hoping to send that to the editorial podcast board at the end of last month. But I need to catch up separately with her to find out where we are. But I guess Stuart and Deepa are working on. Yes, so the topics are menopause, parent carers returning to work after a long leave of absence, one on disability, and then the last one was on age. So the one for age, that was being managed by the DIN group, and then other three were kind of with us. That makes sense. So we had a EDI champion lead on each podcast, so they could feed back into this group and ask for additional information and support. That's where we are. So Stuart, as you're the lead for the menopause, do you want to speak about the menopause one?
Yeah, I can. We've been pulling together the brief for the menopause. What we're wanting to do is kind of like have sort of a roundtable kind of discussion around the implications or the impact of menopause on people at large. So kind of mindful that sort of like it will have an impact on people, sort of like all sorts of people within the workplace. So just kind of trying to demystify the subject. We have got a team of 4 people kind of like sort of like working on the brief, which is more or less finished. What we have sort of like sent back to you, Maha, is just sort of like a request for kind of guidance on numbers, and also so we can kind of refine who's actually going to be sort of like on the podcast itself. So I think that's kind of probably a reasonable summary, unless you want to add anything. Your head's probably a little bit more sort of like in it in terms of I was off last week on holiday, so yeah.
Not to add to it, but we did get feedback on the number of speakers from somebody from the EDI team, the podcast team, and I think they said between one host and 3 guests is what they prefer. So we can take that away once we get the overall feedback about what's the best way to do it.
Okay, that's great. And we had Abba, but I don't think she's here. So there's also another podcast that's gone to the editorial board, and that was the one on age, and that was being led by Abba. Abba Blesser was doing 2, and the disability one and the age as our EDI champion rep. But again, that's gone to the podcast board, and I think they're looking at dates of when they can record. Ideally, we wanted the age one to be recorded first, just so it ties in nicely with the recent research fund report, I was called then, by Jenny Manchester, that was published, I think last month, was it the month before? But we're just trying to find dates for recordings. So unfortunately, we were kind of a bit late to start this project because there was a few issues with the editorial board forming a new panel. So we had hoped to have all 4 recorded by this stage, but because we were waiting for our direction for them, we were a lot later than where we wanted to be. But saying that, I think we're still in a really good place. We've got 2, hopefully we'll have 3 that will go to the editorial report by the end of hopefully this month. And we're hoping to maybe possibly record 1 or 2 this year for publication next year, and then record the other 1 or 2 next year again for it to be released next year. So work is still being done, and we're moving forward. It seems that we've kind of got it together now, and we're kind of moving at a really nice pace. So I really want to say thank you to those who are involved. And I hope it hasn't been too much of a task to get together, but reading the briefs, they all sound really, really interesting, and I can't wait to hear them once they go live. If that's the phrase that you say. Rachel put the comment. So I'm trying to read the comment. Yeah, I think that's in the brief, isn't it? From Rachel's comment.
I'm just trying to read.
I think you're talking about work adjustments, reasonable adjustments that can be done. I think you've got a HR. I think you're looking to have a HR person feature on the podcast and have that kind of work, bring that work experience to it. So what can be done to support those who are going through the menopause. So that's what. And then Jo, did you want to go through the turners to work?
Yeah, so we have pulled out bits. So we've obviously got the missing women study about where do they go. So what we're trying to pull in people who, or women who are, or I'd say parents. We're not just looking at women. People who are on parental or maternity leave. We have looked at someone who has gone to become an independent practitioner because they have children or caregiving responsibilities, and the impact that's had on their career. We are looking at a man in particular who has taken parental leave and works within PR and comms, because we obviously want to show representation on that level. And what we're currently, I think, trying to identify is a practitioner who has got 1 or more inclusion needs. So looking at intersectionality between parenting, but also something else that they're grappling with as well, because actually there will be many individuals who are looking at that. And the only other person we're considering is someone within our within CIPR sort of network and profession who is a champion for opportunity and inclusion. We've confirmed a few potential speakers already. So we've got who sits on my East Anglia committee, Kelly Quigley Hicks, who is going to be able to represent parent of a child with additional needs, and that's how that's affected her, so being a parent in that position. We've got a lady who is an independent practitioner and is a single parent to twins, and her decision to become an independent practitioner was because she needed flexibility to parent twins. We have got a account director who is currently on maternity leave, and I think there is someone else from her agency who is going to join us, who's a man who champions flexible leave and flexible working policies, and I believe he's also taken parental leave himself. So that's sort of where we're at on that one. We've looked at one thing I think we're not having or struggling to represent is someone who's taken leave for caring responsibilities, and that's something where we might want to have a bit more guidance or help or support if we were to bring someone on. But I think we've potentially got quite a big panel of speakers. So
yeah, that sounds great, Jo. Jo, do you know roughly when you think you'd have your brief completed, or were you happy to share at least with the podcast board so we can get some feedback?
Absolutely happy to share. It's currently, so there's 3 on the group I'm working with. I've I did a good sort of a rough draft of that brief a couple of weeks ago, given it to them to sort of feedback on and to consider, and add anything as well that they think's relevant. I haven't heard from them, so I can poke them after today's meeting and hopefully have something by next week.
Perfect. That'd be great. It'd be great to share it with the podcast as soon as possible, so they can start planning and booking in possible recording dates, because I think that's where they also need time for editing. So if we get those booked in as soon as possible, then hopefully we'll be in a good place next year and we can at least schedule when they'll be released. Deepa?
I just wanted to make a suggestion. It would be good to record all of them and then schedule the dates, just so that you can almost have like a good theme, because if you were to do one in January and then there's nothing for 2-3 months, people won't know when it's coming next, so it won't really be the EDI theme. So apologies, somebody's at the door, but I just wanted to make a suggestion, if that's possible, to kind of get all the recordings and then
I think that's what the board wants to do. I think they want to schedule record. At the moment they're saying probably not start recording till January anyway, so it's just getting those times booked in where the speakers are available. It's coordination, isn't it? See who's available when they're available, and then once that's all done, then it could be decided when they're going to be published. But if we can try and get them recorded as early as possible, that gives us enough time to play around, so they're not all kind of grouped together. Because there will also be other podcasts hopefully recorded as part of the normal business usual kind of podcast. So it sounds great. Does anyone else have any comments or wants to contribute to any of the podcasts, briefs, or make any suggestions? No, I just hope when they are published that we can just make sure that they're fully supported and promoted through our local networks and channels. That'd be great. I'm also trying to work internally in HQ to see if we can have some other coordinated events. So this might be a good way of also to get your groups involved, to have an event talking about the menopause, and then around the time of publication. So some HQ led events, and hopefully we can replicate that locally. I say locally, I mean within the groups, and also maybe some influence blogs, just to make sure we kind of get the momentum going next year. It's also really key because next year we're hoping to launch EDI as compulsory. CPD. EDI to be compulsory for CPD next year. That's what I'm trying to say. So as long as we have quite a good bank of EDI resources, I think that will also help us next year when the new cycle. I hope that all made sense. Does anyone have any comments before we move on to the next?
Yeah. Thanks, that all sounds really good. Just for my notes, because I'm trying to be dutifully putting notes together and sending back to my team. When did you say that the podcasts were like to happen, and what you said that you want us to, you might be maybe looking at people to do some blogs about them and promoting them, is that right?
Yeah, I think that'd be nice. Or to have so for example, I guess as an EDI champ, you're supposed to help your group plan one EDI activity. So for example, next year if you're struggling, you could possibly have an event or do a blog about one of the podcasts or one of the podcast themes. So that's just an idea, but obviously you have your own plans, and I don't want to.
No, that's helpful. And when did you say that, just to kind of launch?
We don't have a schedule at the moment. I'm just trying to get dates confirmed for recording, so we're a bit behind schedule, but we were hoping to have the age one recorded this year, but I think they're saying early January. So as soon as I've got those dates, I will share them with the wider group.
Thank you.
That's fine. Caroline.
Thank you. That all sounds good. I'm really impressed that we're going to make EDI compulsory as part of CPD, so that's great news. Just when's that going to be announced? And just a little, I missed what the point level would be.
I think it's going to be like FX 5. Am I right, Claire? I'm thinking so. It's 5.
Yeah.
We do. Yeah, go on then, Claire.
Yeah, it's so it's been agreed by council so far. So the decision has been made that it is gonna happen. There was quite a good discussion and really positive feedback from council on doing it. It's going to feed into the start of the next cycle, as Maha said, so that's from April next year. We're talking internally about communications around it at the moment. We don't want to confuse people finishing their cycle and mixing messages up at the moment, but we do want to make sure that we're talking about it early enough so that it doesn't come as a surprise for people come the 1st of April and the new cycle. So at the moment that comms plan is being talked about, but it's not quite there to share with you at the moment where we are with it. We're just making sure we do it in the right way and that the messages don't get mixed.
Sounds entirely sensible, Claire. Good. And it just means that back in our committees and groups, can't we can have a little think about it and what we might start line up for some resources and things like that for the next cycle, linked to our own EDI work, etc., within our groups and committees. So thank you.
Yeah, that'd be great. And the number of points, as Maha said, it's five points, so it will be the same as the ethics points that are already compulsory as well. So yeah, thanks, Maha.
That's all right. Any more questions, or should we move on to talk about your plans? I guess that's the next bit on the agenda item. We'll talk about your plans and your EDI activities. Does anybody want to sort of pick around the room, or does somebody want to put their hand up? I'll just go around the room. Oh, go, Caroline's put her hand up. You're on mute.
I've not been using Zoom that much, so I'm like, where's my hand? So anyway, I put on the chat that sorry, I've not been able to make the last couple of meetings. It's just inadvertently clashed with my annual leave or other things. So sorry about that, everyone. For people who don't know me, I'm Caroline Latter. I'm on the health committee group, so EDI lead. I'm really happy to do that. I've just been reappointed after our AGM, so that's great. So just very briefly, we've spent a bit of time really working hard on doing some data analysis based on what was available of our membership. So I've done a SWOT, etc. And we've also developed a plan, and we've talked about it quite a bit in our group. So it was really, I don't want to bore everyone, well, not bore everyone, but I don't want to take up time here necessarily and talk too much about it. But I'd certainly love a quick chat back with HQ colleagues about what's in it. And essentially, we've been able to kind of do a bit of like a situation analysis as well, based on what we know is going on in other parts of the health sector, particularly the NHS, and obviously private practice agency work that all work in and around health. And some not surprising findings in terms of what the EDI is telling us. So our plan, in very simple terms, looks at using some of our resources to provide access to, and this is what I want to talk to HQ about, access to some funded places or bursary type places for very, very targeted type of individuals from an EDI point of view. And obviously giving gets about joining the health group and taking part in some of the work and stuff, etc. So I don't want to go too much into it. We had a little presentation at the AGM which talked about what our EDI profile was as a committee, as the membership of people who are signed up to health as part of CPR members. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of just mention that, and I'd really, really be grateful for some guidance from colleagues about what's in our plan and what we think is achievable. Reverse mentoring, working with colleagues in the NHS Confed have done a big piece of EDI work, other things. So we don't want to kind of reinvent, and that's for communications professionals. So we don't want to kind of like reinvent stuff. We want to try and align and work within some of those networks. So I'll stop there.
No, that sounds great. Yeah, we're happy to pick up from HQ point of view, Caroline, if you want to drop me an email, or anyone, Claire or Hayley, the volunteer team, and we can follow up separately. That's great. Yeah. Does everyone have any questions for Caroline? No. Deepa, do you want to go next?
Sure. So for the CIPR Northwest, what we're trying to do this year, and we've been pursuing this, and a big thank you to headquarters teams, Maha, Kat, and others who've been supporting us, is to work with a charity partner. So what we're going to do is announce this at our AGM on the 19th. We're working with, we've been researching member preferences, committee preferences for the cause and the kind of partnership that we want to arrange. So we've now just signed with Mustard Tree, which is a local homelessness and alleviating poverty charity in Manchester. And we'll be working with them in 3 areas: communications and advocacy, fundraising and online donations, and third, which is volunteering. So how do we use our skilled member base to do career sessions for people trying to get out of homelessness and get back into work? So really, and then the small one, which is upskilling their communications team. So how can we use our committee as well as our members to be mentors to their communications team, so that we use the fact that we are communication professionals and there's a communications team trying to do powerful campaigns. How can we help them? So really excited about this. It's going to be a 1-year partnership. It's the first time, I think, in the regional committees that there's going to be one of these partnerships. I'm very happy to report back and share how that goes. It's been a labor of love over the last year, and I can say there's been lots of twists and turns along the journey, but really happy to get there.
No, that's great. Thank you. Who's that? Rachel. I'm just going to go across my screen now.
Hello. Well, I'm in the very, 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 very naughty corner because I still haven't done the SWOTs because of lack of data. I did try to get some data, even just from the committee members, and that we haven't really got it. We've had a lot of changes in our committee members. So I just asked Caroline if maybe I could possibly pick her brains about how they successfully managed to get more data. I know we've obviously been saying that members need to complete the diversity data, but yeah, so anything that I could do there, because I'm keen to do it. I have indicated that I think I'm going to need to step down from the EDI champion role. I've just taken on a NED role, and I've just taken on a like a paid role as well. That's going to take up my time. So I think something's going to have to give, but I won't do that until we've got someone else. I might possibly co-do it, if that's the right word, with someone else. But just doing it alone at the moment, it just seems to be, because I only work part-time hours anyway and term time only. So just a little bit too much volunteering to fit in.
Yeah,
I'm finding this meeting really useful to kind of get me thinking about it. I have got something good to report, which is that we're planning on doing an event at our AGM. We're going to combine that with a speak from a neurodiversity expert, a HR expert on neurodiversity, about neurodiversity in general and how to support in the workplace. Someone who's very well known, and I think she's one of the top 100. I think she's something like number 17 in the influential HR.
Wow.
So she does know her stuff. She specialises in HR.
When's that, Rachel? Because I might have to.
Well, I've queried that. I've seen an email saying it's the 16th of November, but that's a Sunday. So I'm just double checking the date, but it's imminent.
That's great. If we could just make sure that all these events are on our events calendar, because we also tag the EDI ones, because I think Din finds it quite useful to see which groups are doing what kind of EDI events. Then they help promote it in their own newsletter. So
okay, but how do I do that? Does that, when the chair puts it on the website, she needs to tick an EDI box, or?
I think if you just send an email, whoever fills in your event form, because somebody would fill in an event form for that to go live, and then we can make sure, and they should also at the same time fill in our events calendar, but some people don't do that, which is fine. But hopefully if somebody in the team would flag that internally, and we'll put that on. But yeah, if you can,
I'll email you the details as well in case you want to double check. Would that be helpful?
That'd be great.
Not really naughty. It's just that I've been looking my feet a bit.
No, that's fine. Just in terms of your SWOT, I don't know how you've approached it approached it, but some of the other groups have done it as a committee, so the pressure isn't just on the champion, I can't speak, on themselves, sorry. So they've asked for it to be added to agenda, and I don't know how long they spend on it, but they've gone round the room and kind of asked what they think their strengths were, you don't have to do it.
We did do that actually about a year ago. So I need to, but now we've got a different committee. So I'll do that again. But I should have said we are the Education Skills Committee.
Yeah, cool. That's great. Caroline, did you have a question for Rachel, or was it just
it was just to respond to Rachel. So thank you. Yes, I see it on the chat. No problem, Rachel. I don't know if we're all on the same email group. Just want to message with Caroline at olivus.co.uk. Very happy to have a chat with you. No problem at all. So very briefly, how I did the data stuff was, and I know Maha, I was emailing you a bit about this. So you can go into the back end of your committee website, the CIPO website, and it does have data screens of your demographics of who signed up to your committee. So obviously, you might have the number of, we have 680 or something, but not everybody had filled out the monitoring information. So we did a big push about trying to get as many people as possible to do their data monitoring information, because that's basically the starting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then very simply, and I was like praying, going, I don't suppose there's a handy Excel spreadsheet with this all on from the back end. And unfortunately, the answer is no, but you can always be an optimist. So essentially was I screenshotted everything that we had from that back end, and essentially a bit boring, but I did a bit of repopulation of it, and I did some analysis of that data in terms of what our demographic looked like against what we believe what we believe to know. It's all kind of best endeavour stuff, really.
Yeah.
So that data in itself gave us a bit of a picture that we were very white, very women orientated, and quite older, in very simple terms. And obviously then I was able to do a little bit of triangulation against state of the PR profession stuff from various sources.
Yeah.
And then I kind of did a start of a 10 on a SWOT of that, with the problem question being about obviously we're trying to understand our EDI profile, and then what the gap is against what we think it should look like for the future. And then we had a conversation when we had a session in our committee looking at it. So it was a combination of what has been suggested. So we did the initial kind of work around understanding what the picture was like, and then using that information to have a constructive conversation at committee about what really was looking like. And then from that, we've been able to devise a plan for how we're going to address it.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. It's really helpful.
But I'm happy to, I'll send it on to the HQ team. If you want to circulate it, feel free to do so. I'm happy for people to see. It's fairly logical. And it comes back to kind of the work I do in my day-to-day work anyway. So although I must say I struggle with quantitative analysis, I'm much more comfortable with qualitative.
Qualitative, yes. Yeah. Thank you. That's really helpful.
Angela, did you want to give us an update on the international group? I got that right?
Hello, everyone. So not too much by way of an update. As you know, we had our last webinar on 30th June, but what we were able to do was repurpose some of that material during the National Inclusion Week. And so what we did was I produced a blog for the National Inclusion Week. And I participated along with Deepa on Advita's President's Live. So those were two of our activities for the past quarter. Happy to say I've just been re-elected as EDI champion for 26. And Tazima's around. So probably in the coming couple of months, we will have a discussion about what we want to focus on for 2026, and we'll have more to share in the next meeting.
That's great. Thank you. Caroline, have you got your hand up still? Was that from before? No, that's from before. Okay, I will go around to your group though. Let's, Jo, did you want to speak about East Anglia?
Yes, so I've just been re-elected as EDI lead, but I'm now leading in partnership with another one of our committee members who it's Lucille. She's been a member of our committee for just over a year. She works in academia and has a lot of work within the EDI space. So I think she'll be a really good addition. She does travel a lot, so because she is involved in student recruitment. So I'm hoping she'll be able to come along to some of the meetings, and she'll be partnering with me. Our plan at the moment for our event for next year, for 2026, will be to host a webinar on communicating with a neurodiverse audience. And that's sort of something that's in very, very early planning sessions, in as much as we have the idea, and then we're going to try and shape our webinar around that. But I would be looking to probably partner with a charity that operates in this sphere. And if I mean so I've got an autistic son, and I am probably going to reach out to the charity that has supported me, to see if anyone from their comms team might want to join, because we'd like to have a local flavour. And the National Autistic Society, which would be one of the groups I'd approach, they're based in Kent, so they're not quite within the East Anglia region. But that would be my next port of call. They're not too far away, and I think it'd be good to have a lead, because when we did a webinar a couple of years ago, and we partnered with a charity, that was really successful.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Seema, I know you're here as a EDIC rep, and you're not really here a part of international. Was there anything that you wanted to add?
Hi, everyone. I think Anjali's covered it for the most part. I think there was just one aspect we were trying to do as international as a whole, but has an EDI bearing, hopefully, was our international members survey, which is now likely to go out in Jan or Feb. Just a few delays on our end with a few aspects. But we're hoping that the very data we spoke of just now is something we can also use to inform what Anjali's going to be able to work on for next year. I think in addition to that, not quite an EDI aspect, but something Anjali and I will probably talk about in the beginning of the year as well, is as we were sort of reviewing some of the chair and vice chair staff within the period, we're really starting to see, when it comes to inclusion for international youth, as a really challenging aspect. So we want to see if we can get a little bit more moving in terms of accessibility to CIPR membership, and certainly support for markets where the price point is just a challenge. So there are some ideas coming through that I think are going to be shaped a little bit more in the coming weeks.
Yeah, that's great. Sounds really interesting. Stuart, did you want to give an update?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that we've been working on. So we have been doing a lunch and learn type event for early careers. I haven't spoken to our secretary for a little while. She was sort of going away, whether she'd got anyone that's just come out of academia that could kind of support us. Did say my internet connection's unstable, so just kind of flashed across the screen. Hopefully you can still hear me. Yeah. And the other thing we've kind of been looking at is kind of the session for early 2026 is the possibility of doing PR consultancy that have been working with an organisation, the Headley Foundation. They work a lot with children and families with disabilities, with learning difficulties, sort of like up in the Newcastle area. So that's we're working on. Something that I've kind of said that I would like as part of the next year is kind of like almost, as a few others have said it, almost kind of like a little bit more support from the committee. So like float that at the AGM, that either kind of somebody taking the lead with my support, or somebody to support me, an additional role to the committee. So
yeah. Just when we first started with EDI Champions, we did realise that some groups just found it quite challenging to recruit new members anyway. So EDI Champs, the role can always be shared. So don't feel it has to be allocated to one person, because we do understand that there's so many different things that some people volunteer for, or work commitments. So we're more than happy to have more than one person attend these meetings, or if you can't attend, and then share the invite with other people on your committee, or they can also join the WhatsApp group. So it's good to share.
Something else that kind of like might work in our favour is the person that's been elected for the Yorkshire and Humber region I work with almost like on a day-to-day basis. We're working on sort of like a major project where we're having to kind of be integrated the EDI role for Yorkshire and Humber. Yeah, there's a lot we can do together.
That's great. Thank you. Caroline, did you want to?
I was just going to say, Stuart, you're North East.
Yeah.
I live in Newcastle, and I'll be coming hopefully to the AGM next week anyway. So if you want to have a chat, well, maybe there's something I can do to help.
Yeah, 100%.
Thank you. VJ, STEM.
Thanks, Meha. So, yes, STEM group. So I've dropped in the chat. We've got a webinar actually straight after this meeting on STEM returners, which has an EDI relevancy. So that's with Natalie Desty, who's Director of STEM Returnees. And then similar thing to kind of be mentioned, I think it's been a bit quieter this side more generally, but Stuart actually has kind of got the AGM this Friday, and I think Stuart's going to help me with do this role for the STEM group going forward, so a bit more capacity and support, which is great. So thank you, Stuart, for that. And I think the focus for me for kind of the next few months, next year, and as a committee is building up our SWOT and data analysis as well, similar to what Caroline mentioned. I think has been put in the chat, taking a straw person to the committee to then build together and kind of take forward in a bit of an action plan. But that's the focus of the next few months, I think, for me.
Graham, did you want to update for Greater London Group?
Yeah, fine, thank you. I will do. We held an event yesterday actually, which was more sort of looking at the sort of political landscape and the impact on business, but was Trump 1 year on. But the reason that is quite interesting is it did touch on EDI and backlash in the States. And Fazana, the incoming CIPR president, was on the panel along with a journalist from Al Jazeera and BBC previously, but now works and advises clients as part of his own agency, Hassan Salim Patel. And I don't know if you know Third City, but the co-founder, Mark Lowe, was also on the panel, and it was chaired by Poppy Mitchell-Rose, who used to be the special advisor for George Osborne, now works internationally at Freud's. And it was a really interesting panel discussion. So we'll be socialising, some of the. I mean, we tried to film it, but some of the video was a bit botched because it was being done on a phone. But there are images to share, so we will obviously share that. It was a charged event, but we did make sure that student tickets were free, and we got about, I'd say, 30 to 40 in the room at Freud's face-to-face event. So yeah, it was really, really interesting. We've also got our meeting, our planning meeting for the year ahead, I think on the 20th of November. So we're trying to get together as much as possible to really sort of plan through the year ahead. We've already had our AGM, so I'm re-elected for another year. And probably the other thing to update on is the SWOT analysis. Obviously, I've raised that as something that we need to revisit because it's about 18 months old and the makeup of our committee has changed a bit. I don't know whether it was as a response to the last SWOT, but definitely it'd be good to, there was definitely some movement when we did it last. So it's a good challenge to the committee. So we'll do that again. And yeah, we don't have a set, EDI event as such just yet, but we'll put that on the agenda to see what we can do going forward. And it's great to hear about all the good initiatives here. And I'll take that back to our committee to give them a bit of a prod.
Great. Thank you. Rachel, I know you put something in the comment. Did you want to go back before I go to Kirsty?
Yes, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
It was only the SWOTs that we hadn't done. We have actually got a lot of things in place. So some of the things that the CIPR Education and Skills Committee group are doing is we've worked hard around ensuring better representation of speakers for all of our events generally. And that's been good. Our chair, I think, has had some funding from the Research Fund to do stuff on ageism in PR. So she's doing some work there. We also make sure that we promote, and I've been pushing quite hard for this, like regularly promoting the EDI resources and training. on our social channels for our group. And I think at the moment we're looking at planning an event around reaching our communities through non-traditional media, or without going through the media, with a view to kind of acknowledging that for education and skills we need to reach very diverse audiences, and we need to have different routes to reaching them, and kind of learning best practice from that, particularly in the education sector. So actually there's some quite good stuff going on there, and I would say that our group is our committee is more diverse now than it was 18 months ago as well. So yeah, there's actually some very good stuff going on, which they would probably want me to tell you about.
That's great. Kirsty, did you want to?
Oh, hi. Am I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi there. Sorry, I've got an 11-week-old puppy, and she was being quite noisy, so I've kept my I kept my camera off. Public Affairs Group, we have our AGM this week, and I am just chatting to a couple of the other committee members as to whether, so just sort of professionally, I was in the very lucky position of sold my agency in April, and so I've sort of just sort of ducked out of professional life just for a couple of months, but I will be back with a vengeance in the new year. I just needed a bit of a break. I've been working. I mean, anyone who's I don't know if there's any other agency owners here, but it's a really intense process going through. It's about a year to the day since we started due diligence, and I've just been down a tunnel and out again, happily on the other side. But so we badly need to update our SWOT analysis, and I've been scribbling away. I want to do that data work that was being talked about. I think that's an excellent idea. I've been a bit, I just haven't had the focus to look in at the back end, but it's, and so I think as a committee, and I'm sure many of you will recognise this, I think there's a real strength and depth in our committee in terms of the commitment to DEI. And I think what we need to do is sort of shape our activity around that. We've also been doing a lot on, and actually my life as a DI rep has been made really easy for the committee's own sort of commitment to balancing speakers and thinking up new sort of subjects. I think on blogging we could do a bit more there. And so essentially my commitment to this cause will remain undiminished, but I don't want to block the opportunity for somebody else to take over as the formal rep if that's an opportunity that they would like within the committee. So that's really what we're debating, if somebody else would see a professional, or it would support their volunteering journey to take on that role. So I will sort of let you know over the next couple of days if somebody else is going to sort of take over sort of from me on that. If not, I'll try and sort of capture some of that work, update the SWOT analysis and start planning. And once we've got our new committee, I think our chair is changing, but it's somebody well known and who has been on the committee for a couple of years. So I wouldn't imagine there's I think the bulk of, I think probably 70% of the committee are staying on for a further year. So I'm hoping that the event planning is always better when you have a sort of majority continuing committee, albeit we need to ensure that any new voices coming onto the committee are heard and their input is encouraged and recognised.
Right. Thank you. Terry, did you want to update everyone on the work of the DIN? Don't know if she's still there. She might be on another call. Okay. If she comes back, then we can ask her to update us on the work of the DIN. I guess the last point was really just talk about, a lot of us, as you've already spoken about, succession planning, about some of you are going to step down next year or hoping to continue. We just don't want the work that we've done so far. It's a bit like start-stop when you get new in the role, because you have to go back and say, have you done a SWOT? So you just want to make sure that we've got that continuation. So if you are stepping down, and I'm glad to hear most of you are staying on because it's great, that if you are having someone new to the role, that maybe there was that handover, and what does that look like? So, you know, let them see the SWOT, or if you haven't done one, then kind of work with them. Hopefully you've had your AGM, so you might know who that new person in this role is. Yeah, that makes sense. And work with them to see what is needed and what is required, and also, I guess, what their expectations are. I guess because you've got first-hand experience, sometimes when you're new to a role, you don't know what to expect or how much time is required for you to give, I guess. So it'd be really good to get that first-hand experience, if you can kind of share that with the new person. As always, me, Claire, and the volunteer team are always around to help support and offer one-to-one support for that new person. Oh, she's back. So we can do that. But just in terms of HQ, we have had our EDI survey, first time we've done a full EDI survey. So we're still going through the results and coming together for an action plan. So hopefully for our meeting in January, when we have a new meeting of the new year, we can go through the results and help maybe set some priorities of what we want to do as a organisation. Can't speak. And also it will be our NES reassessment that we're going to start again. I think September, October next year. So there'll be lots of EDI focus, especially from HQ, in terms of what is required to get us through that reassessment. And so we'll be looking to you, I guess, for a bit more support in case we need to tighten a few things up at a local level. Deepa, you got your hand up.
Just really excited to see those insights from the survey, and also last time you were able to share then the regional breakup as well as the national breakup with us, which then really helped us with our plans and also the kind of topics or committee members that we recruited. So Maha, just a request to make sure that you feed that back as always to the marketing team.
We will do our best as always.
We're very want to be really like focused on member listening and not duplicate any member listening that's already been done, so that doesn't.
We're also
time.
Our 5 areas focus might slightly change as well, depending on the results of the EDI survey. So we will also highlight what those areas will be. So then you can follow through locally. Claire.
Yeah, I've got a few stats from the EDI survey that I can share now, if that's useful. EDIC are due to discuss it next week, so obviously some of you will be present then, but yeah, the full results have been shared with EDIC and we're due to discuss. But just to give you a little bit of an oversight, I think it's helpful. These things are just the raw data rather than the agreed priorities, but I think it's just interesting so you know what's coming up. I think overall the importance of EDI, it is still showing as very important to the number of people who completed the survey anyway. It was showing as 63%, which is high. We asked a question about, is the CIPR, the work that the CIPR is doing on EDI, is it going in the right direction? And the response somewhat got 40%, yes, somewhat got 40%, and yes, definitely got 23%. So those two combined sort of reflect the top end of the scale, which is 60%. So that's quite nice to hear that as well. Still lots to do, obviously, but at least those figures are showing that we're going in the right direction with what we're doing. We did ask a question on regional as well, which group or which part of the country or international, where were people from? So we can break that down into your groups deeper. I think it was you that just mentioned that. So we've got that data, so we can break it down. And then in terms of, we asked what were the top priorities for individuals and also what were the top priorities for the CIPR going forward. So in terms of the CIPR, the things that came out top were socio and economic, age, ethnic and racial, neuro and cognitive, and disability. So those were the 5 things that came out top, and those range from sort of 47% down to 20% of respondents. So they do reflect most of the themes that we're already doing and we're agreed. So we probably won't change those significantly, I don't think, going forward. But you know, it's all dependent on having a conversation at the EDI standing committee and then internally and see where we go. But We got
can you just say that list again? I might have put in the five neurodiverse.
Yeah, so these are in order of how they were rated actually. So socioeconomic came up top, followed by age. Then it was ethnic and racial, neuro and cognitive, and then disability.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I can put those in the notes anyway, but just so you know, we received just under 250 respondents. We were a little bit disappointed because we had 250 as our minimum benchmark, and we were about, I don't know, 2 or 3 people under that. So it's not, you know, we do need to be careful with the pool and the sort of insights and data that we take from the pool, because it is only just, you know, it's small. So yeah, we just need to look at it in detail really, and read between the lines to understand what we pull from it and how we prioritize our actions going forward. But just as an oversight, I think hopefully that's helpful, just to have that little bit of information to help with your planning and things that you're doing. So thanks, Maha.
Right. Could I just come in very quickly? So sorry, I'm not able to put my hand up for some strange reason. Just to, like, I guess it would be great to just think also as you do the various committee meetings and consultations in houses, like, was it the right thing to only send it through CIPR National? Would you have got a better response if the regional groups and the various networks had also promoted in their newsletters? So maybe something to look at for the future, that, you know, if more of us promoted, you're likely to reach maybe slightly different people, or that multi-channel approach could have perhaps increased the response rate. I know that survey responses are always a challenge because people are time starved, but just a reflection to consider for the future.
Yeah, we saw a few peaks where we promoted it at various different times. It was during National Inclusion Week as well. We tried to pick up on sort of people coming back after the summer holidays and saw a few peaks. We put it in as many of the sectoral and group email newsletters as we could do. But yeah, it's something to think about, isn't it, in the future, as to how we can, the numbers are disappointing to us. So anything that we can do to help improve those would be really, really good. So yeah, thanks, Deepa.
Terry, did you want to have the chance to talk about DIN? Oh, we can't hear you. No. Oh, she's gone. Caroline, I don't know how she's gone. Did you do a update on your group? I can't remember now if I included you or not. Apologies if I haven't.
Yeah, you did. I said that we've done the SWOT and we've done the plan, and I've emailed it. It's all right. Yeah, I know it can be confusing, can't you?
I should make sure that I've got everyone. That's all.
That's all right. Can I just make a little plea? Could we we're using a lot. This is really ironic given the fact that I work mostly in the NHS, which is acronym City.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm so sorry about that.
Yes, that's all right.
Apologies. Just for my excuses, I'm at Excel London, which, as you all know, is a nightmare for work, so I couldn't join earlier. But not a great way to introduce myself to the group. But hi, I'm Terry McCollin. I work with Maha and Claire. I'm on the DIN committee. And yes, just a quick update from our team. So we are putting together, post National Inclusion Week, we're putting together a panel which kind of speaks to what has been mentioned earlier about the backlash on DEI, where we're going to have some speakers from across the spectrum to discuss ways in which we continue to implement DEI initiatives to the benefit of all of us in the industry. That we're hoping would be a Q1 event, given that we're November. And some of the people that we are looking at for speaking on this panel are agency leaders, speakers within the sphere of the DEI sphere, from different backgrounds, different ages, different socioeconomic groups. And we have been working on that for a while. So really, we do need to move it on. But as I said, that's something that we're looking to roll out in Q1.
Thank you. Thanks. Caroline, did you want to put your request?
Yeah, so just all the different groups have all got different acronyms for all the different groups, so it would really help me if we could say which groups are which. So I just get confused as to what we're talking about, whether it's a regional group, geography-wise, or it's a cross-sector kind of special interest group or whatever. Just really helpful on that. And just reflecting on what the previous speaker was saying, one of the things we've talked about in the health group, this whole like EDI backlash, and particularly from the United States, they say America, catches gets flu and we catch a cold, or whatever the line is. But I mean, the couple of things that I've been talking about recently, I don't know if it's helpful for people to remember about, and apologies if I'm sucking eggs with this audience, is to kind of call upon the Equality Act. So obviously we've got that in law, which is substantial. So it's worthwhile kind of like reflecting on what the duties are that tell us in that. And also for those of you working in and out or around the public sector, part of that, we've got the public sector equality duty, which is amazing. So it's really, really helpful. I do deliver some training on that actually for my own work. So if that's something that we might want to do anything about in terms of a refresher, because we always go back to first principles on when these things start to erupt and we start to get backlash about things. It's like, it's not a nice to have, it's a absolutely legal and statutory requirement for many organisations. And obviously there's the hearts and minds stuff about why it's a good idea as well, of course. But I just thought that was worth kind of reflecting on, because we've done a bit of that in the health group recently, and it's been quite helpful for colleagues in equipping them to go back and have those kind of conversations. So that just came to me then.
Thank you. It's now 1 o'clock at the end of our session. Does anybody else want to add anything or ask a question or no before we go? No. I just want to take this opportunity for those of you who are stepping down. I just want to say thank you so much. You've still got another month left of your role, so you can't step away quite right now. But it's been great working with you, and thank you so much for your input and support over this last 12 months. And I'm looking forward for those podcasts coming out next year and our reassessment and lots of the activities that you've spoken about today. I think we should be really proud of ourselves. We've really moved on. I think it's our second year now, our third year of EDI Champs now, I can't even remember. But we've come a long way since our birth, should I say. So thank you so much. And if I don't speak to you beforehand, I think it's a bit early saying that, but have a great break. And hopefully I'll catch up with you all in the new year, where we'll set a plan of activities for 2026. We'll get our meeting dates, but I will share the recording of this meeting for those people who've missed it. And we will update you on the survey as soon as we've got the approval from board and EDIC, and so you're not missing out on stuff. But thank you so much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.